Help support the companies that support our community. So I'm starting out with two pieces of maple burl here, and one of them is going to be the handle and one is going to be the head for the mallet. So the handle is about 9 inches long and 2 by 2. So what I'm doing is preparing it for the stainless insert. So I'm using a Forstner bit to flush up the end, and then I will switch over to a 7/16 drill bit and drill down in for the insert. Just a little bit of a 5-minute epoxy works great for these inserts. So just mix it up, put it on, I just put it on one end of it, the end that goes inside. These are capped off so none of the epoxy or glue or whatever it is going to get in the threads, and then just use the tailstock to press it in. And I always, even if I'm doing a bottle stopper or a bottle opener, always recess it in there about a 1/16 or so, and then you just wipe off the excess. Then just switched over for the head of the mallet. Same process here. Use the Forstner bit and then a 7/16 drill bit. Once the epoxy sets up, I'll go ahead and switch to the Niles mandrel and then threaded the blank right on. So we're going to do the head first. Just thread it right onto there and bring the tailstock up to support it. I'm using a spindle gouge to get it trued up, and then we'll get the headstock end sized with a set of calipers. I'm using the calipers to bring the diameter down here, so that's the actual size of the meat and chicken press right there. And then I'm cupping out the bottom just a little bit. So when I went in with the Forstner bit, that is just so it seats nice and flush on the mandrel. Normally if you're doing a bottle stopper or bottle opener, that's all you need, but the chicken and meat presses are bigger diameter, so you want to cup that out just a little bit so it sits nice and flat. Again, I'm using the spindle gouge. It's about 2,500 RPMs, and I'm just shaping the head. So when you're doing stuff like this, even for the bottle stoppers and bottle openers, leave that tailstock up as long as you can. It's helping support it, keep it from vibrating, because the only thing that is actually holding this on is that little, about a 1/2 inch stud that's going inside of it into the insert. So that's really the only support you have. So even when I'm doing something small, well, like a bottle stopper, I always leave the tailstock up till the very end to minimize the vibration. And I'm just using a parting tool here to bring that down, and then I'll cut it off here in a second and clean up the top. I'm just taking light little passes with the #1 hollower here to get that all smoothed over, and then I'll switch over and start dry sanding it with a couple of grits. After a couple of grits dry, I used the walnut oil and wet sanded it. It's just a beautiful piece of burl. It really has some great color in it. Now that we have the sanding done, I'm going to drill into the side of it for the handle. So I'm using a Forstner bit here, and I'll drill in maybe 1/2 inch or so, and then we're going to actually put an insert in this one so that you can take it apart. So when I turn the handle, I will size it to that size Forstner bit. I'm not sure what it was. It's maybe inch and 1/4. It doesn't really matter, you know, it's depending on what shape you're going to make. You can do whatever size you want. After I got it drilled down in there, used a 7/16 and I'm drilling in for the insert now. The only thing here is make sure you don't go through the other side. So same process, I put a little bit of epoxy on it. We're going to grab another mandrel, thread it into it, and press that down into it. So the handle that we had already done is going to have the, it already has an insert in it, and we'll use the screw that comes with the meat and chicken tenderizer set to hook those together too. Now that that's all done, we'll go ahead and switch over and start working on the handle. So same process here. This one's a little bit longer, but we're going to go ahead and bring the tailstock up to support it. Whenever I do this, I always turn the lathe on before I press the tailstock in, the live center in all the way, and just kind of let it work its way into center. If you just bring the tailstock up and press it right in, it might not be centered. This one is really long, so it's not going to be centered even when I do cut it off. But for something like a bottle stopper, just kind of go slow when you're pushing that tailstock in. It really helps, and not to get it kicked off center at all. So again, I'm at 2500 RPM, and I'm using a spindle gouge to shape this. So I'm using the calipers to size the hole. I'm just going to bring that down. I left it a little bit big, and you'll see here in a second, I left a little shoulder on it, but because it's going inside around the head and it's round, it's not going to, you can't put a shoulder on it because you'll see on the sides, you know, it just won't look good. So you actually need a straight post going into it, and I eventually take all this off. It's just, and kind of resize that tenon as we get closer. So this process here is, I'm just making a pretty straightforward handle for it. Just kind of, you know, whatever size you want, you can adjust all of this. This one's just a straight, has a little ball on the end, and then goes right down into the head. The tool is getting a little bit dull. It's working great in this direction on this side of it, but the other side is a little bit dull. So I ran over to the grinder real quick and touched it up so that I could cut in on both sides of it. I'm just kind of cleaning everything up, and that little shoulder you see right there, I'll bring that down here in just a second. I'm going to use the calipers again to get that tenon, or the end of it on the headstock, perfect to fit inside the head. There we go. Now that we have the diameter, go ahead and bring all this down. So that part right there is about what's going to fit inside the head of the mallet. And then we'll get rid of this collar too. So same process with this. I didn't show it, but I ran through the grits and sanded it a couple grits dry. And then I'll cut that little nub off there. So when I pull it away and turn the lathe on, you'll see that it's a little bit off too. So I just hand sanded that little nub right there and then turned the lathe on and ran through the rest of the grits with the oil. So, and again, the only thing that's holding that on is that little stud coming out of the mandrel there. So give it a little bit of support, even while you're sanding it. So now that that's all done, we'll go ahead and assemble this thing. The screw that comes with the meat tenderizer and chicken press screws right into the insert and the press. And then the other one we're going to put in the handle. It's a little bit tight, so I end up putting it into the mallet first and then screwing it together so it pulls it inside of there. Put it right into the insert and then screw the handle right in. So you want that a nice tight fit on that. And there we go, it's done. There we go. So I made a mallet a couple of years ago and I put the chicken press on one side and the meat tenderizer on the other side. And to be honest, it was really heavy. So it was just, I mean, almost just kind of awkward to use. It was so heavy. So I thought this would be a great idea. So I really like this style here, and where it's just the handle, you can use it like that, just tenderize the meat just like that. I was talking to Robin, she said, is there any way you can put a handle on that style? So that's what we came up with. So it's a lot lighter, easier to use. The meat tenderizer is on there. If you want to use the chicken press, just unscrew that, screw on the chicken press just like that. Then you could use it in chicken press. Swap them back and forth. Just unscrew them, throw them in the dishwasher. The meat tenderizer comes with a rubber cover for it because those little things are sharp. You put that on. If you want to store it in the drawer, unscrew the handle. It's easier to store. And if you do want to use just the handle, unscrew it. And perfect. And it's a lot lighter, feels a lot better. It is really, really, really much better than the other one. I mean, they're solid chunks of stainless steel, so there's a lot of weight there. So I think this is a good alternative. If you want to do both, that way you can take it off if you want to just use the handle. All right. I hope you enjoyed the video. Oh, overall length is about 9 inches from the handle to up here, and this is about 4.5 inches. So, and it's all out of maple burl, just different colored burl. Now, like that contrast between the dark and the light there too. All right, hope you enjoyed the video. Take care, and we will see you next week. Have a couple, I think we have four online IRD demos coming up in the next 2 weeks. So if your club wants a demo, just give me a call or shoot me an email and we can set that up. Yeah, we have one Saturday. I think the video's coming out on Saturday, 2 of them next week, and one the week after that. So we're having a lot of fun doing those too. All right, take care.